Level 1, the cadet. You're 18. You didn't stumble into this? You applied twice before they finally said yes. Air Force officer qualifying test, the medical screening, the psychological evaluation, the panel interview, where 5 officers sit across from you without expression and ask what you do when you're ordered to strike a building containing a confirmed high-value target and probable civilians. You answered without hesitation. That's why you're sitting here. Undergraduate pilot training begins at Laughlin Air Force Base, Del Rio, Texas. The heat never quits. The schedule is worse. You're up at 0430. Ground school by 0600. Aerodynamics, navigation, meteorology, emergency procedures. You memorize checklists the way other people memorize scripture because out there, they serve the exact same purpose. Your first flight is in a T-6 Texan II, single-engine turboprop. The instructor says nothing encouraging. He watches your hands, watches your scan. Watches what you do when the horizon tilts 45 degrees and the ground starts filling your windscreen. You correct? Barely, he writes something down. There are 22 cadets in your class. By month 5, 7 have washed out. No ceremony, no announcement. One morning their locker is empty. Their name is gone from the board. Training continues. You stop getting close to people too fast. Asterisk. Level 2, the student pilot. You're 20. You've transitioned to the T-38. Talon, supersonic, twin-engine, unforgiving. It doesn't simply fly, it negotiates with the air. Every input is a conversation between you and physics doesn't meet you halfway. Night formation flying begins. You hold position 25 feet off the lead aircraft's wing at 380 knots in complete darkness, navigating by a single row of faint blue lights on the wingtip ahead of you. 1 degree of drift, and you become wreckage. Your instructor is a former F-15 Eagle driver named Major Hendricks. He never raises his voice. He doesn't need to. He just says it, flat and steady. Again, every time your scan breaks. Every time your eyes fix on one instrument too long. Every time your brain tries to track too many things at once. Pilots who stare at one thing die staring at it. Scan. Always scan. Scan. You graduate in the top quarter of your class? Good enough. Assignment night arrives. The room fills. Names are called. Aircraft types follow. F-16, C-17, KC-135. Then your name. 2 words. B to Spirit. The room goes still. Not quiet. Still. The B-2 is not a bomber. It is the most sophisticated flying machine the United States government operates. A flying wing. Radar invisible. Nuclear capable. Built by Northrop Grumman. Based exclusively at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, there are 20 in existence. The program is classified. The training is classified. Your future is classified. You call home that night. You tell your parents you got a great assignment. You tell them nothing else? Asterisk. Level 3. The mission-ready pilot. You're 23. B-2 qualification runs 14 months. You study systems that don't appear in any public document. The fly-by-wire architecture, the quadruply redundant flight computers, the terrain-following radar, the GPS-aided targeting suite. The B-2 has no vertical tail. It is stabilized entirely by software. For flight control computers, running in parallel, any one of them, capable of flying the aircraft alone if the other 3 go dark, it doesn't feel like a machine. It feels like a theorem someone made aerodynamic. Your first solo flight in the B-2 lasts just over 6 hours. You cover Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, from 50,000 feet. The curvature of the Earth is visible along the edge of the cockpit glass. You are one of fewer than 100 people alive currently certified to fly this aircraft. Nobody back home knows. Mission. Ready qualification demands a full, simulated, long-range strike profile. Takeoff from Whiteman. Aerial refueling over the Pacific. Penetrate a layered air defense network. Deliver a weapons package on designated coordinates. Return and land. The full profile runs 30 hours. You complete it without a single procedural deviation. Your evaluator signs the form and says only, "Welcome to the 393rd. The 393rd Bomb Squadron." It's the same unit that flew the Enola Gay in 1945. You understand the weight of that number? Asterisk. Level 4. The aircraft commander. You're 27. You sit in the left seat now. You own the aircraft, the mission, and the pilot next to you. The B-2 is crewed by 2. Only 2. On a combat sortie, you and one other person carry enough firepower to redirect the outcome of a war. 16 B-61-12 nuclear gravity bombs, or 8 5,000-pound conventional weapons. The aircraft costs $2.1 billion. Your mission folder is classified at a level most flag officers never access. You fly your first real-world deployment to Diego Garcia, the joint U.S.-British installation deep in the Indian Ocean. From that island, the B-2 can reach almost any point on Earth without refueling. You fly training profiles over the Pacific. You run readiness exercises that are never announced, never reported. Then one night an alert comes through the channel. Not an exercise, real-world tasking. You and your co-pilot, Captain Torres, are handed coordinates, a target package, a launch window. You sit inside the aircraft for 3.5 hours, while decision-makers on the other side of the planet work through what they want to do. Then the mission is stood down. The order never comes. You taxi back. Shut down both engines. Sign the maintenance log. You never speak about that night, not to Torres, not to anyone, not once. Asterisk. Level 5, the instructor pilot. You're 31. You no longer fly alone. You fly with new B-2 pilots in the right seat. People who remind you of yourself 8 years ago. Precise. Hungry. Still operating under the belief that technical skill is the dominant variable. You know better now. You teach the aircraft, but more than that, you teach decision-making under pressure that no textbook has ever accurately described. What do you do when the primary targeting system fails over denied territory and you're 10 minutes from the weapons release point? What do you do when your co-pilot calls a warning you didn't catch? What do you do when the mission you briefed at 1400 no longer resembles the world you're flying into at 0300? One student, Lieutenant Park, is technically outstanding. Exceptional scores. Clean instrument scan. But in the simulator, when something unexpected breaks the pattern, he pauses 1.8 seconds before reacting. At altitude, 1.8 seconds is not a gap. It's a crater. You document it in his evaluation. Not as a failure. As a pattern to eliminate. You run him through scenario after scenario, pressure stacked on pressure, till hesitation becomes response, until response becomes reflex. 3 months later, he qualifies. He thanks you afterward. You nod. You move to the next student. Level 6, the operations officer. You're 35. The cockpit is no longer where your day lives. You run schedules, readiness rates, maintenance cycles, mission briefs for the entire squadron from a building just off the flight line. The 393rd carries 10 primary air crew. Each must maintain currency, minimum flight hours, weapons system proficiency checks, nuclear evaluations that never get easier, no matter how many times you've run them. Your job is to make all of it happen at once, without destroying the aircraft or the people inside them. You begin attending briefings where the vocabulary changes around you. You stop hearing sortie and start hearing posture. Nuclear posture, strategic posture, deterrence signaling. You are now a working component inside something larger than any single mission. A readiness inspection arrives without notice, as they always do. Inspectors from Air Force Global Strike Command, 3 days. Every procedure under a microscope. Every response time logged to the second. One aircraft has a maintenance discrepancy recorded on the wrong form, a documentation error. Minor in isolation, but in nuclear operations, documentation errors are not administrative inconveniences. They are the system failing to account for itself. The inspector looks at you. You take it. No deflection. No explanations. You spend the following 72 hours correcting every maintenance document in the squadron's records. You pass the inspection. Marginally. Your wing commander calls you in. Marginally is still passing, he says. Fix it before next time. You'll fix it. Level 7, the squadron commander. You're 40. You command the 393rd Bomb Squadron. Roughly 300 people, pilots, navigators, weapons officers, maintenance crews, intelligence analysts, support staff, all reporting upward through a chain that terminates in the Oval Office. Your aircraft sit on continuous alert. Not as a concept. As a physical fact, at any hour of any day, a B-2 from your squadron can be loaded crewed and airborne within minutes of an authenticated presidential order. You manage crew rotations carefully, alert duty, training, rest cycling in patterns designed to sustain both combat readiness and human reliability. Sleep deprivation is an operational hazard. You treat it as precisely that. A young pilot, Major Espinoza, requests a minor deviation on a training mission, a route adjustment he believes improves fuel consumption. His numbers are accurate. His logic is clean. You deny it. He asks why. You tell him, because deviations require approvals. Approvals require justifications. Justifications require time. And time is the one resource this aircraft cannot afford to treat casually. He nods. You see in his face that he doesn't fully agree. You recognize that expression? You wore it once. Level 8, the wing commander. You're 45. You command the 509th. Bomb wing, the only B-2 wing on Earth. Your authority covers the aircraft, the personnel, the facilities, and the nuclear weapons stored in hardened shelters beneath Missouri farmland. You travel frequently now, Washington, Stratcom headquarters in Omaha, Pentagon briefings. You sit at tables where the maps carry no legends because every person in the room already understands what the red circles represent. At one session, a general you've respected for years argues against a proposed readiness posture adjustment. His argument is structured. His data is solid. The room moves with him. You disagree? You say so. A particular silence settles in, the kind that follows something that can't be walked back. You lay out your case slowly, without raising your voice. Maintenance cycle impacts. Crew fatigue accumulation across the transition window. Operational risk during the gap? The general says nothing immediately. 3 weeks later, the posture adjustment is revised. Not reversed, revised. No one attributes it to you publicly. You don't need them to. Level 9, the strategic commander. You're 51, 2 stars. You now advise on strategic bomber force structure, nuclear modernization timelines, and the integration of the B-21 Raider, the B-2's replacement, into the active fleet. The B-21, built by Northrop Grumman under a contract awarded in 2015, is engineered to carry the same nuclear and conventional mission sets as the B-2, with updated low-observable materials, reduced operating costs, and a significantly larger planned production run. You have reviewed the classified performance assessments. You understand what they mean for the airframe you spent your career inside. In one briefing, a junior analyst walks through transition timeline projections. His assumptions are optimistic. He is underestimating how long it takes to convert experienced B to cruise to an entirely new platform, not technically, but operationally at depth. You correct him, carefully, specifically, with data. Afterward, a colleague leans over and says, he'll carry that correction for the rest of his career. If you think about Major Hendricks in the T-38, the single word delivered without frustration, it's just expectation. Again, good. You say, he should. Why may I? We get we I won't. Why? You're 56. Your final flight in the B-2 Spirit is a routine training profile. Nothing classified. No weapons. No alert status. Just you, a co-pilot, young, precise, careful, in the same American sky you've been flying through for 33 years. You don't announce it as your last flight. You brief it like every other one. You fly it like every other one. At 50,000 feet somewhere over Nebraska, you level the aircraft and let the autopilot hold altitude for just under a minute. You look out through the cockpit glass. The Earth curving at the edge of the sky, the same view it has always been. You think about the missions that never happened. The launch windows that closed before the order arrived. The night at Diego Garcia, 3.5 hours. Sitting armed on the ramp while the world decided what it wanted to do with itself. You think about the pilots you trained, Park, Torres, Espinoza. Several of them run squadrons now. One of them will likely sit in the chair you're about to leave empty. You think about the 20 aircraft. The 2 lost over the years. One in 2008 at Andersen Air Force Base in Guam, a moisture-corrupted sensor triggering a rotation error on takeoff. Both crew members ejected cleanly. The rest of the fleet still flying. Still silent? The co-pilot says nothing. He understands that something is happening without needing to be told what. You begin the descent back to Whiteman. You grease the landing out of habit, out of something that doesn't have a clean word. You taxi to the shelter. Shut down the engines. Complete the post-flight checklist for the last time. You sign the maintenance log. You hand your helmet bag to the crew chief. You walk across the ramp in the Missouri afternoon, and you do not look back. Not because it doesn't matter. Because you already know exactly what's there. 33 years. 20 aircraft. 1 mission set. Total silence. The sky never learned your name. That was always the point.